Okay, so this little clip is about, okay, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like about this 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 place, this property, the spirit of a particular parcel of land that has been communicating with me. I know how that sounds. Like, I know how I would have thought that sounds a year ago. Like the idea of beings, interdimensional beings, souls communicating, ancestors communicating, all of this, I get it. But this is like the soul of an energy, like, that's not the right way of saying it. The soul whose body, whose form they have taken is a geographical location. And this soul, this entity, began communicating with me about a year ago. And it was really subtle. The way she was communicating to me was very different than other beings. It wasn't really through words and dialogue and messages and sentences, the way sentences will drop in through the Mona or other beings. It was really more through imagery and emotion that she was communicating with me. And I call her a she, but like, she doesn't have genitalia or a human body or an animal body. She's like she's a piece of land. She's a place. And so I had started to get images from her, and what it felt like she was communicating to me is that there is this place, and the place is her, and that this place is meant to be a place for humans and animals and creatures of all kinds to come and remember who they are as soul. And if they can remember who they are as soul, then they will remember what their work is here in this life. And she was saying that if they can have an experience, if beings can have an experience that they are unable to explain, that will cause them to remember who they are, and that is her expression in this life. That is what she does. She is a place that orchestrates experiences for beings that cause them to question and invoke a remembering. And so she started communicating with me a year ago, and she was giving me images of this house, of this beautiful house, a really beautiful house on this piece of land, and it was on the water, not on a beach, but sort of more like a river maybe. It was like a dock, a wooden dock, and just surrounded by huge, massive, mature trees. And I wrote about it in my journal, very detailed, like a brick house, multiple structures on the property, and also this something very specific, which was that the house, I kept having this feeling of like, you can't see the house from the road, that you would drive by it and you wouldn't even know it was there, that it would be hidden. And also another thing that's very specific is that the address wouldn't make sense. I don't know why that specifically. It was like, people won't be able to find it. They'll punch in the address and they'll be there, and they won't be able to understand exactly where it is. It's kind of like this trippy place that has no address. And I wrote all of this in my journal a year ago. And then fast forward a few months later, to now, the last month or so, she's been knocking on my door again, and I feel her presence so immensely, and she's communicating to me again and again. She was like, you don't understand. She's like, I'm pulsating with all of this energy. I have all of this love, all of this energy, and it has to go somewhere. I'm like bursting with it. And she kind of placed me into this feeling of her, and it was like my whole body was throbbing almost with this heat, this intensity, and it was like this feeling that it has to go somewhere. And she was like, this is my expression. This is who I am. I am a place that allows people to remember. And if I'm not able to do my work, I'm going to be not really in pain, that's not the right word, but more like I'm going to be in a state of being unable to express who I am. And I need a steward to allow me to express who I am in the way that I want to express, to do this work that is authentic to me. And a couple weeks ago, I remember, and during that time, even a year ago, I had been like looking on Zillow, on different property apps, just looking like what's around, and like a few of them stood out to me, but not really, and all of them were kind of far from where I needed to be because I'm in school and I didn't want to be driving, even 45 minutes or an hour to school. I wanted it to be like, what I wrote down was like, it can't be more than 15 minutes from school, 15-minute drive. And so yeah, again, fast forward to a few weeks ago, she's really knocking on my door again, kind of just like, just really filling me with her presence and almost with like a sense of urgency. And that's hard to say because sometimes when I'm getting these messages, I'm not sure if they're dropping into my consciousness, and sometimes I'm unsure if my emotional state is intermixing with the messages to give the messages maybe a certain sense of urgency that there actually isn't. And I just I want to say that to be perfectly clear. The way I experienced it was some kind of sense of urgency, but that sense of urgency caused me to look online, and I hadn't looked online on Zillow in a really long time, and there's this fucking house, and I recognized it. It was like the house that I saw in these visions, in these images that she was giving me. And I had kind of thought when I was getting those visions that they are like examples of what could be. Oh, look, there's this beautiful place and that could be right. I don't know if I really thought that it was actually a one singular physical location. And it was the house. It was the house that I fucking saw in these visions. And it's like this huge estate, this property, and 22 acres. And it used to be a monastery. And she was saying to me, she was telling me that when it was a monastery, she was able to express herself. That's the way she said it. Like, I was able to express myself. I was able to do my work. I was able to be who I am because the people that were stewards of that land were kind of seeking the same thing. They were seeking the divine. They were seeking to understand what their work was in this life. And so we were able to collaborate in this way, and it was a good partnership. But then recently, with the new owners, they don't think in this way, and I haven't been able to express myself. So I'm like looking at this fucking house and scrolling through these photos, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that window that I saw, that's this side of the house that I had saw, this brick house. There are multiple structures on the property, and I actually drove there. I drove there a couple days ago, and I drove there again today, and the first thing I realized when I was driving, when I had punched, well, okay, back up a little. I had just gotten back after being on break for a couple weeks, and I had gone to Whole Foods, and I was driving back home from Whole Foods, and like this impulse came to me that was like, find the house, like go there now. And so I'm like, what the fuck? And I pick up my phone, I'm like driving on the freeway, I pick up my phone, and I remembered the address. And anyone who knows me knows that I suck at memorizing anything, but like specifically addresses. I can't fucking remember addresses ever. I get the numbers mixed up all the time, but I knew the address. I remembered it, and I punched it into maps, and the exit was right there. And I did one of those like, swerve to like make the exit, and probably definitely pissed off the person behind me. And I realized it was just like 10-15 minutes from where I go to school. And I drive to the house, and I realize as I get to the gate, to the driveway, and I recognize the gate from the Zillow ad, from the Zillow, what do you call it? listing, from the Zillow listing. And I was like, oh shit, you can't see the house from the road at all. It's this really humble wooden gate. You would never think that a massive 22-acre estate is behind these gates. And then today when I was there, I was on the phone with a friend who he and I have been discussing this phenomena of this place for a year now. He was really very much a part of this conversation from the beginning. It was a group. It was like an effort between the two of us, especially at that point. And I was on the phone with him, and we were talking about it. I'm just like, I don't know why I felt like I was supposed to drive by here today. I'm really not sure what the fuck I'm doing here. I'm like some weird stalker, just like in front of this house and in front of this driveway. And I looked over and I realized that the address on the mailbox was different than the one on the listing. And I was like, what's up with that? I don't get it. Like the address that's literally like these big numbers on this like brick post thing next to the mailbox is different than the listing. And he looked it up, and it basically, that address that's on the mailbox doesn't exist. It doesn't fucking exist. And the address that is on the listing, it doesn't exist in, anywhere on the street. I was like driving all around, and I'm like, well, where is this house number? And that one doesn't exist. And this number that's here, it doesn't exist on the internet, it doesn't exist anywhere. And I just found that to be really fucking hilarious. And another thing that had come to me and my friend was this thing of tunnels. It was like we had done this road trip and come to the place where I am now. I'm not trying to be cryptic. I'm just trying to, the details don't fucking matter, on the East Coast. And as soon as I got here, like I got out of the car, and I just thought tunnels. And it wasn't tunnels like a little tunnel, a short tunnel to a wine cellar or something. It was like fucking tunnels, tunnels maybe from one part of the city to another or something like that. And my friend, after we had been talking about, this emergence of this listing and everything that I'm hearing about it, and he looked it up, and apparently it was a major stop in the Underground Railway during that time, and that it has tunnels on the property. Signed, I don't know if any of those tunnels are still, if you're able to access any of these tunnels at all, but they say there was a document online that talked about how you can still see signs of these tunnels that were active during the Underground Railway. And yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things that, you hear things, you see things, and all these things kind of start to come together. But it's like, okay, now where do I go from here? I don't have millions of dollars to buy this place, and I'm like in dialogue with this being, and I'm like, okay, you want a steward that will allow you to do your work. You want to collaborate. That's what she kept saying to me. She's like, we need to collaborate. This is your work and this is my work, and we need to collaborate. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And it's just, I don't have an answer to that right now. And I had made a decision. I guess I've made this decision many times, but my ego and myself and my desire to control keeps coming back in and trying to hijack things. But this decision that I've got to surrender, I've got to get out of the way. I know that there is a higher intelligence here that will assist in the orchestration of everything that needs to happen. And if I follow these guidances, that is the most efficient way for the work that needs to happen to come through. And I'm just going to do that. But yeah, I'm in this interesting limbo and in-between place where all of these messages have been given to me, and then all of these signs in the form of, you know, real and physical places have manifested, and I'm not sure what to do about it from here. So I don't know. I'm just gonna be listening and following this guidance. The guidances that I get from Mona, from God, from the divine, they tell me to do crazy shit sometimes, like really, really crazy shit, to the point where I'm 100% sure that if anyone saw me, they would be like, wow, this bitch is, she needs help. I'll be sharing some of those experiences in videos over the next few days. Some of these experiences of the divine telling me, hey, go do this, go do that. And a lot of those things, you know, it wasn't, the experiences that I had weren't like, go do this and then something crazy happened directly related to that. The way it was communicated to me was that in doing certain types of things, you affect your mind on such a deep psychological level, and you affect your energetic body at such a deep level, because these activities, these motions, these experiences, they correspond to a certain, it's almost like a symbolism, but maybe symbolism isn't the right word, because the way it was communicated to me was that it's not that the action represents something, is that the action moves something in the energetic realm. Anyways, okay, that's it for this one. Maybe I'm gonna do another video today, we'll see, but that's it for this. Yeah, this one is just about the house and the property.